enough. It's a matter of perseverance and sticking with it.
There's nobody out there to say that I'm good enough or you're not good enough. It's up to you.
I want to become a pro bass fisherman, and my mom doesn't know how to fish. How can she help?
The best thing your mom can do is to just add her support. Not so much financially, but just be involved just as if she was going to watch you play in a ball game.
Not a lot of women fish, and that's just the way of life. And a lot of young girls fish, but for some reason when they become mothers, they don't fish as much. And if you understand that and can go out and just have her blessings, and she can carry you places to fish, that's what my mom done and always helped me. Small things like that really add up to a lot in your lifetime.
Well, welcome. Dawn has arrived here at Lake Okeechobee in southern Florida, and with it, the start of the year 2000 edition of the Walmart FLW Tour. An exciting day of fishing ahead, and a very exciting finals day. We got 5 guys fishing for the $100,000 first prize, the start of what is probably going to be the most important year ever in tournament fishing, Jerry.
Absolutely, and you know, I don't want to get heavy right off the bat here, but I want everybody to realize that as they're watching this and they're going to see an hour's worth of competitive bass fishing, and I think they'll be very entertained. I want them to know that the 5 guys in this final are not here because they are lucky.
No.
They are here because they are smart, they're talented, and they're very well prepared. As a matter of fact, Steve Browning is only moments away from blasting off here, and I'd like to ask Steve exactly what he has done to prepare to get to this point.
Well, I tell you, Jerry, I've had the fortunate to be here for about 15 days. I actually fished a tournament prior to the Walmart FLW tournament last week. So I've spent about 15 days on this lake, and I've seen a lot of cold fronts and fronts passing through over the last days, and I've really been able to understand what the fish are going through, and I think that's probably helped me more than anything.
I'll tell you what, our 5 anglers are now passing through the lock, or starting to pass through the lock on their way to get out there and start fishing. A great group of 5 it is. Along with Stephen Browning, we've got Steve Daniels from here in Clewiston, Florida, a guy who teaches on the lake here, a guy who guides on the lake, really also a professional fisherman.
Wants to win this one, boy.
Oh, absolutely. He's having his best year ever in professional fishing. He's already won 2 Walmart FLW Tour stops. He'd love to make it 3 to tie himself with David Fritz. Also from here in Clewiston, Florida, on Lake Okeechobee, a guy named Jeff Sims, another great fisherman. Many people, a sleeper.
Really?
People fear him as much as anyone else here, so watch out for Jeff Sims. Craig Powers from Rockville, Tennessee. He is a guy who has really come into his own just in the past year, really just getting into professional fishing. A young guy who came up through the Everstart Tour and challenged.
Really solid, consistent fisherman.
Challenge for Angler of the Year last year. And Marty Stone from Fayetteville, North Carolina, who's had some great finishes, top 5s, top 10s out here on the tour. He really wants to add a $100,000 first prize to his trophy
like
case.
Steve Daniels, he really wants this one.
And he is running right now. Marty, where are you headed?
I'm heading down to Rita Island, and we're going to hope to catch a couple big ones today.
How did you find this place?
You know, I'm not going to take any credit for it. I had a good friend of mine. I was struggling a little bit of practice. Had a few things working. I had a friend of mine named Mike Sermon, who's a great fisherman down here. He said, Marty, if you get to struggling, come in here and you can catch a few fish. And every day I've managed a few in there, and it keeps getting a little better. So I owe a lot of it to him.
Tell us exactly how you're going to fish when you get there, Marty.
When I sit down this morning, I've learned a little bit every day about it in there. There's a couple little deep areas. When I say deep, everything in there is 1.5 foot, and I got 2 areas in there is about 2.5 foot. I'm going to start out throwing a little rattling vibe, the Ozuri lipless crankbait, and then I've got some pads in a little bit deeper water. I'm going to throw my Gamble Ninja spinnerbait. It's a combination. I've got to mix it up to make it work.
How do you feel? What's your confidence level?
Man, you've made it to this far, and your confidence is sky high. You know, I've got 2 of the best locals that ever hit this lake I'm fishing against today, 2 other highly talented competitors, but we're all at square one. So it's as even as it can get. No one's in the lead or coming from behind. So let's see what happens. I struggled yesterday, but, you know, sometimes I do my best when I'm getting by with the seat of my britches.
All right. Be safe there. Keep going fast. Marty Stone headed to his place down there. And I'll tell you what, he's a guy who could really benefit a lot from a $100,000 winner. All these guys could. And, of course, they've got only 6 or 7 chances this year to notch a $100,000 win.
This is such a big day for them. I'm excited. Are you?
I'm excited every time we get to come to Lake Okeechobee. Of course, one of the largest freshwater lakes in America and legendary for bass fishing. Let's look at the map here. Of course, our FLW Tour headquarters down here in Clewiston, Florida. Now, because of water clarity problems, the wind blowing from the north, the guys aren't able to fish all of the 750-plus square miles of this lake, so they're going to different places. Stephen Browning, as you see, is going through the Moorhaven Lock into an adjacent lake.
I'm not real scared of the barges coming in and out today. It's, you know, it's early in the morning, and hopefully if they're gonna come through and lock through, then they'll get their stuff done early, and I won't have to, you know, be caught up with them. There's a lot of pleasure boats down this lake, up and down this river here too, so that are locking through, and you know, there's a lot of things that could happen, but I feel pretty comfortable with locking this morning.
You know, Steve was raised around Hot Springs, Arkansas, fished the Arkansas River and Lake Hamilton. And now let's see, you have to have someone from Arkansas and North Carolina in these tournaments, Tommy, to make them official, don't you?
Those are the 2 bass fishing states.
So we got
an official tournament going here.
Steve and his lovely wife, Tammy, have been married a couple years, and we actually advertised for Steve a wife on the show a couple years ago. It looked like it worked out.
There you go, sir. Thank you.
Steve's a good fisherman. We're going to enjoy him today.
Are the big barges coming through today, or? Okay. Okay, thanks.
Steve Browning, by far his best finish already in any Florida fishing tournament, so he's pumped. He's pumped even before we get started.
Hey, Tommy, did you ever think about how many hours these guys use up just motoring during the tournament and practice days? I bet they spend 10, 15 hours just behind the steering wheel.
Easily. Jeff Sims, a lot of people are looking out for this guy. Some people say he's the best fisherman on Lake Okeechobee.
And you know what? He's a great saltwater fisherman, too.
Yeah, you can tell us something about that. I hope a little bit later. Jeff gone all the way up to Fish Eating Bay here. You can see his location on the map there, and he's hit pay dirt, it looks like.
Talk about a saltwater fisherman. Do you realize he qualified in a flats boat?
Is that right?
That's
I didn't know that.
He fished in a flats boat. He's a big snook and redfish fisherman.
Jeff Sims, that looks like a keeper to me, Jerry. So Jeff Sims has the early lead. He's in the driver's seat, but as we all know, in this tournament on this lake, we'll change drivers a whole lot before this day is over.
We will.
Matter of fact, Steve Daniels is still driving. He hasn't made the first cast yet. We're going to find out where he's fishing and what he'll be doing today when we come back. It's the Walmart FLW Tour. Don't go away. The Walmart FLW Tour is brought to you by Walmart. Always low prices, always. By Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Evinrude Outboards and Electrics, the world's most refined engines. And by Ranger Boats, still building legends, one at a time.
We just got here. We're backing inside of Rita Island today. It's just a little backwater pond area. And right now I'm out here trying to catch some fish off this flat first thing in the morning. I found these fish actually the second day of the tournament on this flat and caught a couple quick. And then yesterday, my 2 best ones come off this flat. So I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time in here. I'm catching all my fish in here on a Yozuri rattling vibe lipless crankbait. But what had really been my mainstay is those pads over there inside of Reed Island. And I've been catching those fish on a Gambler spinnerbait. Yesterday I caught 2 good ones off of it, but it got tougher. But we'll see. I think there's some pretty good fish on this flat. If we can just make a few of them bite today. There he is. Oh God! Quit that. He sees the boat. He's not going to be happy. Get down. Oh, son. Get in the net. Thank you, Lord. That's a good way to start today. white bellies. That means it's a lake fish again. And that's what's been being in here. And when I say lake fish, it's just this backwater. It's a pond, but there's ways these fish can come in off the lake and just make huge migrations. And Florida fish want clear water. And in clear water, the backwater ponds is the last thing they've got. Everything else is all muddy and tore up down here in the south end. But when you get them white bellies, look how healthy that fish is. And look how they ate it. That's what you really want to see.
Over to Craig Powers from Rockwood, Tennessee. Craig continues to do well on the Walmart FLW Tour. Almost made the top 10 here in Okeechobee in his very first event. That was last year.
God almighty, God almighty. Right there he was. Back on it. Oh, I'm struggling. I mean, I'm struggling.
That one hit the bait?
I don't know. I don't know. He shook me up. I know that. That hit the bait finally. I don't know if it's a 14-incher, but he hit the bait finally. Lordy mercy. That first bite was a killer. Lordy.
Sure, there's a big psychological difference between no fish and one fish, even if it's not a keeper, right?
Well, I should say, and incidentally, the length limit is 14 inches, and of course, they can only keep 5 fish, and they've got 8 hours to get that job done in.
Well, that one went back in the pond, so that wasn't a keeper.
That's all right. We got that first bite out of the way. That first bite's always the hardest.
This water ought to really warm up fast today. It's a probably 1.5 to 2 foot deep in the areas that I'm really concentrating on fishing. And I think that's what hurt me the second day, that we had 2 big cold fronts come through, and it really got this water temperature down to where the fish were just very, very lethargic. And I feel like today, if it'll warm up and get up in the mid-60s, which it should, then the bite really will turn on. And I think if the bite turns on in here, I've got a real good chance of having another real big day.
We're back, and as promised, we're going to follow one of 2 local favorites in the competition here, Steve Daniel. He's gone past Rita Island, where we saw Marty Stone fishing earlier, to a place called Kramer Island, a little spot called Pelican Bay.
It's almost like that current holds that bait a certain way, and they just want it against the current. It's really a strange deal. I mean, it was like that yesterday. If I could catch them out there, I'd just anchor my little boat right here. Well, don't do that to me. I have gone and messed myself up right here.
Tommy, I think what he's talking about there, messing himself up, he fooled around and let his boat drift right in that little cut, a little shallow cut in between the 2 places where he's fishing, and there seemed to be some fish in that shallow water.
So you think if he had it to do over again, he would have tried to pull that fish out of there rather than drift over?
Yeah, or got on his trolling motor, maybe.
Whoa, here's a good one. Here's a big one. Come on now, get out of there. This is the one I've been looking for. Stay down. Keep taking. Oh, goodness, this one's heavy. Don't do that to me. Stay down there. Get him out here in this deep water. Don't come up. Look about this big old Kellogg's boat here. thing's so bright, they don't want to come up and jump. You just stay down there.
Man, I've never seen anybody be so careful with a fish, Tommy. I wonder why. What's the big deal?
He thinks it's a big fish, obviously, and I've always thought, I would think these guys would be in a little bit more of a hurry. There's no way a fish is going to jump out of the live well. He could get off the line when he's in the water.
One thing I do want you to watch, and that's how Steve forces these good-sized fish to fight his rod and not his line. He never lets them
This ain't right. This thing should have jumped.
He never really lets them put a lot of pressure on the line, and that way, you know, hey, he's in deep water out here. I actually talked to him the day before, I believe this happened, and he said he's fishing a pretty deep little hole, a dynamite pit, actually. It's 16, 18 feet of water where he's fishing at, so he can let those fish run a little bit. Now, he is catching them in shallow water. He's catching them in 5 or 6 feet of water over there against the cover. But then, boy, he's got a perfect situation where he can just lead them out in that heavier water and land them.
Thank you, Kellogg's. This big bright boat, and they say this boat, they don't even want to come up. I thought that fish was a lot bigger than that. But I'll take it. That's the skinniest one I've caught. Boy, they make me nervous when they do that. Folks, I never get nervous bass fishing, but when you're fishing for 100 grand, those will make you nervous. Thanks, Bass. He's kind of skinny. You ever see one stay down like that? Those will make you nervous. I've got this thing on 10-pound test line. I never throw my baits on 10-pound line here, but I felt like in this deeper water, it'd get it down just a little bit deeper. At Lake Lanier, when I was catching all those big spotted bass, when I was third after 2 days, I was catching 3- and 4-pound spots. I had to throw it on 8-pound line, or I wasn't getting bites at all. I had to get the bait down as deep as I could possibly get it. And if you threw it on 12, you'd never get a bite. I ended up having to re-spool my rods the first day of the tournament. And it's, you know, you can land an awful big fish on an 8-pound test line. I caught some 20-pound stripers. But here, you got that grass to contend with. And see, normally I don't use any drag. I'll keep my drag all the way knocked down. And then when I do get a surge from my fish, I can just thumb them. I just push my thumb bar and give them line. That way, if they do head toward the reeds, I can stop them. If you use your drag the way it's meant to be used, they can take line when they make a surge, and they can actually get to some cover. But this way, I can actually stop them. And then once I give them an open water, I can ease off on them. And that fish there was just great. He didn't even want to jump. I was hoping it wasn't some old big catfish or something, because you never know what's going to hit this jerkbait.
Tommy, I just have to go back to Steve Daniels there. A boat drove right through his little honey hole there, and you know what? A lot of fishermen would have blown their mind when that happened. Steve didn't seem to bat an eye. Hey, you know what? He finds fish really, really well, catches them really well, but I think his biggest asset is how cool he is.
Well, 2 keepers now for Steve Daniel. That puts him ahead of Jeff Sims and the man we're watching right now, Marty Stone. Although Marty got a chance to tie him up here, could have a keeper on as well.
He don't even know he's hooked. I think I got a good fish here. No, he's not that good. He'll keep. That was stupid. That was stupid. I don't think he'd have kept. Damn, why did I use that? Thought he was hooked better than that.
It's the Walmart FLW Tour from Lake Okeechobee, our first stop of the year here. Let's take a quick look at the leaderboard. 2 locals on top there, Steve Daniel and Jeff Sims, who's actually tied with Marty Stone. It's a tight race so far. but it is still early. Let's get out to the lake right now and check in on Steve Daniel.
There's no. Okay, stay on now. Don't you jump. Come wherever we can see this big old yellow boat. There you go. Man, these fish strong. Hey, come off. I didn't lean on him too hard. He must have barely been stuck.
Well, Tommy, you know I fish up around Punta Gorda with Mike Sermon from time to time for snook. Guess who catches the bait for us up there?
Jeff Sims, right? You told me.
Man, can he throw a casting net? But no live bait today.
What I'm throwing is a Gambler Ninja spinnerbait. It's 3/8. I'm throwing white skirt on it. I'm throwing 15-pound test line. I think the line size has a lot to do with these fish, too, when it gets cold. I'm really working it real slow through the hydrilla. A lot of times when I get hung up, I just try to pull it off of it and let it fall in a hole or something. And hopefully I drag it across the bed and they'll come up there and hit it.
That's some pretty good information. A lot of people know how to fish a spinnerbait around sticks and logs, but on grass, not everyone knows how to do that the right way.
And Jeff makes it sound so easy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Hey, he said the magic word there when he said fall. Any bait you use, a spinnerbait, a jig, a worm, almost anything, if you'll concentrate on, at times, letting it fall around the brush, fall into the hole, like Jeff said right there. It really triggers a fish. It makes Mr. Bass think something is hurt, and he will jump on it out of instinct almost every single time.
I've got a little girl that's 8 years old, and she leaves messages on my answering machine on my cellular phone. Too little. And anyways, those messages will break your heart. And it's not a keeper either. That fish, I never did feel it bite. He just had a hold of it. That's all right. Got a bite anyways.
Well, Craig Power's still looking for his first keeper of the day there. That's an interesting list of earnings right there. Steve Daniel leads our crew here today with almost $500,000, but Stephen Browning not too far behind, and any of these guys then are going to at least increase their lifetime earnings by 20% with a win today.
I believe so. Jeff Sims' earnings came from saltwater that he had on that list there. And of course, there's a lot of guys that are not in the finals with us. The Cluns and the Nixons and the Browers that have done a great deal better than that.
Yeah, they make a living. They don't make Ken Griffey money, but those select few have done very well through the years.
Lots of expenses, Tommy. I would imagine that other than NASCAR, probably there's no other sport where you have to depend so much on very expensive equipment.
The equipment is expensive, and if these guys have other ways of making money, it cuts into their time so much, too, because they have to spend so much time preparing for a tournament, Jerry.
Well, I imagine we've got 75 to 100 guys that do nothing but professional bass fish, and so they're on the road a lot. They're on the road practically all the time. So we're talking about motels and breakfast and supper. There's just no... Hey, I can remember the time, though, when a guy win a fishing tournament, he'd get a trophy and a bag of worms. We're beating that.
These Florida screw weights are the best thing they ever invented. Short beats a toothpick. Unpegging them with a rubber band. You screw that little weight, that screw right into that worm, and you're ready to fish. If I can just get it in one of them holes.
The Walmart FLW Tour is brought to you by ShopVac. The only thing more powerful is our name. By Timex, it takes a licking and keeps on ticking. By Wrangler, real, comfortable jeans. And by Eagle Electronics, successful fishing made simple.
Craig Powers is one of the younger guys out here. He came to us through the EverStart series, and this is pretty amazing, too. This is his third top 10 finish in 2 years.
Well, Craig Powers is out there enjoying the fishing in the Florida sunshine, and the family snowed in back at home. You don't feel guilty, do you, Craig?
Well, maybe just a little bit.
Just a wee little bit?
Yeah. Well, you know, remember over in Memphis how many fish poor old Craig lost? He just kept getting hits and losing fish. Craig, you're not having those problems today, are you?
Well, I hadn't lost any yet. They just hadn't started biting, but we've still got plenty of time left.
We understand you're fishing with what's called a Yankee rig. How about explaining that to us a little bit?
Well, it's just a Yankee rig, carp rig, whatever you want to call it. I just think the fish on this lake have no reason to be right on the bottom, and I needed to find a way to fish up off the bottom a little way, and it's just made a little more sense to me. So I done a little experimenting in the swimming pool at the hotel I'm staying at, and come up with this little deal.
Can you hold it up and show it to us?
Yeah, it's just a 2-ounce egg sinker and a Riverside rib tube. You know, it's really a simple concept. It's just, I don't know that a whole lot of people have started doing it yet, but it's just a great way of catching fish out of hydrilla.
Quickly, we want to check in on Stephen Browning, who's had 3 fabulous days so far on Lake Okeechobee, but nothing so far today, but it looks like he may have a keeper. And that's going to do it. One fish, 1.5 pounds, so Stephen Browning is in the game.
4 years ago, I guess it was, as you know, Tommy, Steve
Arkansas
won
River.
An incredible tournament there, the All-American in Arkansas. And he had a good luck charm in his pocket. Steve, I understand you've never had that out again until this trip.
I haven't taken it with me like on the water. I keep it with me all the time, but it's been packed up in my bags and just you know, in my suitcase and everything. But this week, you know, my success on the FLW Tour hadn't been just a blaze of glory, so I had to break that rascal back out today.
And tell us about it a little bit.
Well, it was a little charm off my mother's keychain, and you know, my mom passed away back in '91 with cancer, and she was very, very instrumental. You know, when I was growing up, supported my fishing and all, and was able to carry me fishing and drop me off and pick me up and all. And it's just, you know, just a little piece of her that I keep with me. And, you know, I had to bring her back out on the water with me today.
That's great.
All right, great story.
Steve, it's hard not to root for you, man.
I appreciate it.
It really is hard not to root for him. You know, he came down here not expecting to be a Florida-style fishing champion, and boy, he surprised himself so far, and everyone else, but it's such a great deal. I don't know if he was, everyone knew he would do well at Pine Bluff because he'd fished that river, the Arkansas River, hundreds of times.
But not here.
But here,
well, you know, he said he'd caught, well, his first qualifying day caught 10 or 12 pounds of fish. He said that was more than he had caught totally in the last 4 years coming to Florida.
Back to Jeff Sims, who's still holding down second place with 3 fish, 6.5 pounds. Jeff says the biggest fish he's ever caught here on Okeechobee was 10 pounds and 15 ounces. He'd like to revisit that one again.
And you know, Tommy, you ever stop to think how we consider the guys in 4th and 5th place as kind of dragging up the rears, when actually those guys have beat 170 other fishermen to get to this point. The folks just don't realize that this has been going on for almost 10 days in these fishermen's lives.
If you had to recommend one bait or technique, what would it be?
Wade, I'd pick a spinnerbait because it's a real versatile bait, and it works on both smallmouth and largemouth.
If I started over again, I would probably try to learn to fish a worm faster than I did, because it is so versatile, shallow water, deep water, any type of structure. It's just an all-around great bait.
How do I know if I'm good enough to become a pro?
The main thing I would do is join a local bass club, and when you're good enough to be winning a major percentage of your local tournaments, then you're good enough to be able to go out and try. But until you can win a lot of your local tournaments, it's probably not time.
You know, it's estimated that there's 2 million pounds of bass in Lake Okeechobee, and right now Steve Daniels only wants 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, that's a big one. Come on over here by this Kellogg's boat and see it. Go back down now. Don't do that. Don't come up. Don't come up. Stay down there. Yeah, listen to me. Stay down. Go on down. Get on down. Don't do that. Don't do that. See, I can let him go. I can let him go now. He's out here in deep water. When he goes, I just push my thumb and just let him take line. Don't lean on him hard. It's the worst thing you can do. But when he comes up, you gotta gather your line. You gotta keep your rod bent. That's why real limber rod is really important. I've thrown at that point there 50 times. Tell you what now, I want this Kellogg's boat every time because they see this yellow boat and they go down. They don't want to come up. It's incredible. Normally that fish would have jumped 3 or 4 times by now. Everybody says, man, these yellow boats are going to scare the fish. Well, sometimes that's good. Look at that. He just keeps digging. Well, I'm going to try to get him up here and net him now. That's a good fish. That's a good one. Right. Good, and that fish never would have come off. That's a great fish. One more time like that, and these boys are gonna have to really catch them.
All right, out to Steve Daniels. Steve, is it starting to feel like that day?
He might as well get his landing net ready, Tom.
Yeah, get your landing net ready. We're calling.
Man, it's laying right here. I got all excited when they said y'all are fixing to call.
He is the undisputed champion of catching fish on the telephone.
He is the telephone catching champ of the world. Steve, is it starting to feel like that day about 4 years ago?
Yes, it is. I had a real good morning.
Yeah? Tell us about it. Why is it so much better today?
Well, because I caught one on the first cast.
Yeah, that's all. That makes for a good morning.
And that makes for a good morning. Then I caught several more, and I lost one pretty nice one. But, you know, they're all pretty decent. I just missed one right there. Hang on just a second now.
All right, okay, we're here, you know.
Hey, Steve, tell us a little bit. As a matter of fact, even when you get it in, show us your bait. Tell us how a jerk, you know, you always say catch them on a jerk bait. There's more to it than that. You're actually working that lure, and there's things that it does. Talk to us about that.
Well, this bait, you have to, I use a long, heavy rod. Now, a lot of people use real short rods, but when you use a short rod, you have to pull the bait too much. And what I try to do is use the long rod, get the bait down. I use the number 14 Husky jerk 90% of the time in Tennessee shad.
That's a Rapala bait,
It's a Rapala. And it suspends, and it suspends perfectly. That's the reason I use them. I ask Craig Weber how they get those baits to work so good, and they're all the same, but every one of them is hand-tuned, and every one of them, you put them in water, they float perfectly level. And what that does, it gives you the opportunity when you make a long cast like this, and you crank the bait down real slow.
And how far did it go down, Steve?
Well, it's going to go down about 4 to 5 feet because I've got it on 10-pound test line.
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do is I work a lot of slack in my line, and I drop that rod on that slack, and I throw the rod tip back at the lure on that second jerk, and that causes that bait to do this. It just causes it almost like a spook. It'll kick completely sideways. And that's what triggers those fish to bite. If you don't pull it just right, and make that thing act just right, you won't get a bite on it. At Lanier, my partner was throwing the same exact lure, and I think I caught 9 over 2 pounds, and he never had a bite. And it looked like he was fishing the bait pretty good, but he wasn't getting that side-to-side action. It makes all the difference in the world how this bait works.
And I think Tommy asked you yesterday if that was the same lure that you fished up on Lake Murray last year.
Yeah, it's the same.
Lake Lanier, yeah.
Lake Lanier.
I fish this lure everywhere I go. Anywhere the water's clean, I'm throwing this lure. This is a fish catchingest lure I've ever used in my life.
Now, this is really pushing it. That wouldn't be the same lure you was using the last time you did well on the tour.
I kind of wore that one out. In fact, I threw that one to the crowd after it was over. That bait had grooves wore on the side of it. I'd fished it like for a month, but it was just one of those great ones. But I finally just wore it out.
Tell us how sweet it would be to win 3 and tie David Fritz for all-time wins on the Walmart FLW Tour.
I'll tell you what, if I can catch a big one today, I've got a shot at it. And I'll tell you what, Tommy, I don't normally get very nervous, but I was shaking this morning. When I caught one about 3.5 pounds and trying to get him off the hook, and you know, I never thought I would get nervous, but fishing for $100,000 is it's just awesome. And you know, I'm going to give it everything I've got. And one thing I did learn about this Kellogg's boat today, this is the best boat you can have in clear water because those fish won't jump. When they get close to the boat, they see that bright yellow, and they go down, and you just keep them on.
They're scared of Tony.
They're scared of Tony or the Snap, Crackle, Pop guys.
I'll tell you what, there's something to it because the fish I've caught have not jumped. I get them close to the boat, they see this big yellow boat, and they go back down, and they stay there.
Well, that keeps it safe. Hey, good job, Steve. We'll talk to you later.
Don't go away.
Yeah,
no,
we got to. It wouldn't be fair.
There he is. It's a little one, but he'll keep. Now, that was a bigger one right back there. Number 5. Thank you. It's starting out really good.
Attaboy. There you got one. Bring it in.
Got number 3.
We're back. It's the Walmart FLW Tour first stop of the year on Lake Okeechobee here in Florida, and our first Florida Gator of the day, Jerry.
Well, alligators fear for their lives when Steve Browning is around.
God dang, I lost him.
Alligators, washing machines, any kind of stuff.
That's right. Steve is getting a little bit frustrated right now, and this is really the time where you can get frustrated, whether you're a youngster at it or an old-timer, and you just got to kind of hang in there because you can still catch 2 or 3 fish and make a good showing.
Saw him come up and eat. Didn't let him have it. I don't know. I couldn't tell. I just saw him flash on the worm, and I never let him have it.
Stephen Browning, in fact, is part of a select group fishing in this Walmart FLW Tour stop. He's one of 3 who have qualified for the tour via a win at the All-American, a famous tournament that's really set up for the working anglers of America, but a win is so prestigious, gets you onto this tour, nets you $100,000, and Steve Browning certainly proved that he's got the ability through the first 3 days of this tournament.
Here comes former Redman All-American champion Kim Carver from Milledgeville, Georgia. All right, Kim. Today he has got a limit, 5 fish, 9 pounds, 10 ounces, 9/10 to start for today.
Our 1999 All-American champion Mike Baldwin is in the field as well. What a great win he had on the upper Mississippi there. Zeroed on the first day down here at Okeechobee, but check out that monster he brought in as his sole fish on day number 2. Neither of these fellows made the top 10, but both of them made a check, and that's important. Kim Carver with an excellent check, $3,000. They'll be back somewhere along the line during this year. You can see him in a top 10. We'll just about bet on it. 1996 All-American champion, though, Stephen Browning having the biggest impact this week.
And sometimes you don't see all the familiar names in their finals, but they were here. Hey, it's hard to make the finals. Larry Nixon was right on the edge, but some of the other big names were way off this time. Dion Hibden led all qualifiers with 27 pounds into the final 10 on Friday. He finished 6th on that day, missing the final 5 today. By the way, his father Guido was under the weather for this event, and Dion, along with everybody, really missed him. But all those stats are old news and back to the present.
Come on, Bass. Now, I know darn well there's one left.
Greg Powers here, just kind of fishing for pride now, Jerry.
Doesn't want to get skunked, does he?
Greg Bowers from Rockwood,
Thank
Tennessee.
you. I sure
He's
appreciate
in the pizza
that one.
business there, and I think he may have himself a keeper. It looks like
All right.
Now get a picture of this, just to let everybody know that OCP can catch one. This one had to have brain damage is the only thing I can figure. Man, I was dreading going into that tent with nothing.
Did all I could do. Somebody beats me, they just beat me. I can't do it anymore. And I had to stay in there, couldn't leave. So I'm happy with it. I just wish I could have caught one or two late in the day that might have helped me a little bit, but I can't complain. I've caught the biggest string I've caught so far, so that's, you know, that ain't bad. Let's go see what happens.
Everybody needs a proverbial last cast. Here it goes.
Well, the last casts have been thrown, Jerry. This thing's just about over. Everyone's making their way back. These guys have been through so much over the last 10 days. Some of them have even been down here all month getting ready for it.
That's right, and we haven't even brought up the fact that they have fought the weather. This looks like a beautiful day out here, and it was. It really was. But, boy, how about the days leading up to this? Winds blowing guys off the lake, muddying up the water, cold. Oh, it's been quite an affair. Back in Clewiston for our final weigh-in, Craig Powers and Marty Stone did not have enough weight to continue, which leaves us with Browning, Sims, and
Probably
Daniels.
need one more. That one weighs in at 2 pounds. Going to need at least one more. Got to get to 313 to take over the lead.
Yep, got to have 313. There's a nice one.
2 fish, and they are extremely alive. Jumping out of the basket. 2 fish, both alive. Total weight here, 5 pounds, 1 ounce.
There's your leader right there, Steve. Have a seat. We're going to take it around to Stephen Browning now, Steve. It's going to be 3 pounds, 7 ounces. 3-7, Stephen Browning, in order to take over the lead. 3-7. There's one there. Looking for 3-7.
3-7. That one weighs in at 1.6. That's
one
it.
more.
1
That's
pound,
it.
6
Oh,
ounces.
man. My goodness. Let's have a hand for Steve Browning. What a great week he has had. So, Steve, you really sort of lit up the world back in 1996. A very emotional win on the Arkansas River, the $100,000 All-American Championship. Had a good career since then. That started your professional career. You came here looking for a boost, and, hey, you didn't win, but this is a great boost for your career.
It really is. You know, to be honest with you, to catch 2 fish and to be in third place right now, well, I guess I'll end up in third. I'm not complaining right now at all.
Can't complain at all. Let's have a big hand for Stephen Browning from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Stephen, we'll get you to go up front there. Folks, at Walmarts all across, we try our best to put on a good show for the host city here, and I don't think we could get a better development than what we got now, Charlie.
We're down to 2, Tommy. 2 of Florida's best.
Man, 2 of Okeechobee's best. Jeff Sims, Steve Daniel. Steve Daniel is your leader here. And now these guys are just going to have to draw back and slug it out. But we're going to wait just a moment. We'll be right back.
Walmart FLW Tour is brought to you by Energizer. Energizer batteries and flashlights, the power to keep going and going. By Fuji, get the picture with Fuji Film. By Spiderline, Maximum Fishing Edge. And by Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Flashback today goes way back. Well, back to yesterday.
All right.
You see Takahiro Amori
What a present.
fight through the greenery to get about a 4-pound bass to the boat.
See, this is the kind of bite I could get, but only 4 or 5 bites a day.
We're going to shoot this thing out. Jeff Sims, bring up another fish. He needs 1 pound, 6 ounces. Is that right, Charlie?
1.6 will put him back into the lead.
Jeff Sims from Punta Gorda, Florida.
I believe that'll do it. One fish. It is live, weighs in at 2 pounds, 6 ounces.
There it is. Jeff Sims takes the lead. He's weighed in 3. Keep in the back of your mind how many fish these guys have weighed in. So Steve Daniel to take the lead. It's over to him. It's going to take 1 pound, 2 ounces. 1-2 is all it's going to take for Steve to take the lead.
This is
$100,000, the first prize.
This will be Steve's third fish. He needs 1, 2 to regain the lead.
All right.
One fish. It's alive. 2 pounds, 2 ounces.
All right. Steve, have a seat. They've both weighed in 3 fish now. Jeff Sims, 1 pound, 2 ounces. Weighed in 3 fish so far.
Needs how much, Tommy?
1, 2.
1 pound, and that'll do it.
Fourth fish for Jeff Sims.
2 pounds, 12 ounces, the new leader.
212, your new leader, Jeff Sims. Have a seat, Jeff. He's weighed in 4 so far. Okay, the number to Steve Daniel, 1 pound, 12 ounces. 112, Steve.
112?
112.
112 will put him back in the lead?
Back in the lead. Oh, that could do it.
Let's see if they'll do it.
I believe it will.
1 fish, 2 pounds, 3 ounces,
Man,
the new leader.
What a fight. What a knockdown. Okay, Charlie. You're going to have
8 ounces, 9 ounces.
Just 9 ounces.
Just 9 ounces to take over the lead.
9 ounces to take over the lead. Hold on.
No fish?
And sometimes, does that mean it?
We have a champion.
There's your champion right there, Steve Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a deal.
1 fish, 2 pounds, 12 ounces.
2 pounds, 12 ounces. There's your champion. One more time. Everyone at home, give it up. Steve Daniel from Lewiston, Florida. Tying the record. Tying the record. Woo!
You know, you get into situations where you can really get fishing very good, and I really have been lately. I've only had 1 bad tournament all year, and my style of fishing is dictating a lot of that according to the lakes we go to, a lot of fishing pressure and stuff, and I have to attribute it to my style of fishing.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.